Alrighty, Thursday, February 26th. Welcome into another episode of Getting Technical, brought to you by Better and Green. Wyatt, on a Thursday, usually full of mid-majors, we have ourselves a top 15 Big Ten matchup here. Really good matchup for myself personally, obviously, with Michigan State in action, but 13th ranked Michigan State heads to Mackey to face the 8th ranked Purdue Boilermakers. Purdue, a 7.5 point home favorite here, over under 142.5. This is the first Big Ten matchup that we have in the next 2 days. Your boys playing Iowa or Illinois tomorrow. So another really good one there. We will have content of some sort on that game. I'm not sure if it's just going to be you or both of us, but stay tuned for that video that will be out tomorrow for that big matchup. But why I'm going to throw it to you here, save my thoughts on the Spartans for after the thoughts that you give out. But how are you breaking down Michigan State, Purdue? Again, Purdue minus 7.5 at home tonight.
Yeah, I'm a little dilemma tonight, so I'm interested to see what your read on this game is. I think there's an obvious sharp side. I think the obvious sharp side is Purdue in this game. I see the lines back down to 7.5, got up to 8.5 about an hour ago. People bet it back down to 7.5, but this line opened at 6.5. Obviously, the bets are coming in on Michigan State. It seems like a lot of points. And then the line's moving in Purdue's favor. And if you check a couple different sites, that you can see the obvious money is coming in on Purdue. Enough money to, like I said, move that line in Purdue's favor, despite bets coming in on Michigan State. So that right there is usually enough for me to take Purdue. It's not a perfect strategy. It did not work last night. I did the same thing with Florida. They were in that game for a while. Or not Florida, Texas. They were in that game a while against Florida and then ultimately crumbled at the end. But it's usually a strategy that I go to. So I don't really want to go against that, but I think this is just becoming too many points for me, especially if you can get an 8.5 out there in favor or for Michigan State plus the points. I think that's where I'm going to have to lean here. I do have a couple thought processes around that going away from the sharp bet. Michigan State this year seems like they struggle in some spot games, which is not really normal for them. Usually Izzo beats the obvious letdown spot, the hangover spot out of them. But this year it looks like they've struggled. I have a couple games in mind here. Before that Michigan game, they were losing very badly to Rutgers, had a squeaked that one out in overtime. Fantastic overtime win, but they had no business winning that game because I think they had Michigan on deck. We saw them have a fantastic game against Illinois where they won in overtime and then had a huge letdown spot at Wisconsin where they lost that game by 21 points. So those are just a couple losses or a couple bad spots for Michigan State that they usually overcome, and they just haven't been doing it. It's only 2 games, but they just haven't really been doing that this year. This is, however, a fantastic spot for Michigan State. They are tied with Purdue and Illinois and I think Nebraska in the Big Ten with 4 losses in the Big Ten. Okay, so they are 3 losses behind Michigan. But, a win here would put them in a great spot. Michigan, like we said, has Illinois on deck. Michigan State does play Michigan as a final game of the season. So if Michigan loses 2, if Michigan State wins out, they can still share that Big Ten title. So it's not dead in the water. And, this is just a great spot for them to go into a very tough Purdue team that I don't think is as good as they historically are, and pull off an upset. And I think they're going to cover this pretty big spread here. Also, another game, not that big of a letdown, but that Ohio State got a little shaky there. I think they're maybe looking towards Purdue a little bit. They still won that game, did not cover the spread. But like I said, those are just spots I'm not normally used to seeing Michigan State struggling because I think Izzo is just such a good coach that he beats it out of them. But I don't know. But like I said, it's a great spot for Michigan State. I think I'm going to have to go, unfortunately, against the Sharps and unfortunately against a team that I despise probably the most in college basketball in Michigan State. But I will take them. I think it's actually going to be a bet as well. Michigan State. I'm going to try to find an 8 out there, 8.5 on the spread in favor of Michigan State to cover in this game.
Yeah, I'll start by saying, and you know this, and probably my Twitter followers know this, my leans have been just hitting at a great clip in college basketball. My plays getting better over the last week or so, but not as much. So this will be a lean for me. It will be Michigan State to play. I'm not.
There it is. That's a free winner.
That's a free winner. Probably outright, to be honest with you. But I got to leave it alone because if I bet them, they lose by 25. So, but yeah, I honestly completely agree with your breakdown of this game. everything kind of points to Purdue here. Like you said, it looks to be the sharp side. Purdue has revenge. This is now that they only play once per season. Michigan State did beat them last year, and now Purdue's had their number though. I think they've won 10 of the last 12, and Michigan State hasn't won in Mackey since I think 2017, maybe even before that. But it's still a lot of the same guys: Trey Hoffman-Wren, Fletcher Lawyer, Braden Smith, and all those guys. I think all those guys senior years, at least Lawyer and Smith. They're gonna want to beat Michigan State one last time at home in this spot here, but yeah, I don't know. Michigan State, it just feels like too many points here. I know Izzo's pissed against or after that win against Ohio State. That was such an ugly game, and like you said, it got really close at the end. I think they were losing at halftime actually, Michigan State. So yeah, it was kind of close, all throughout, and Izzo was pissed about it, which I don't blame him. But like you said, we've seen Izzo pissed a few times this year, and he hasn't really responded. His team hasn't really responded how we would necessarily expect him to. Michigan State also struggled on the road. They lost both games out west in California last year on the road in that first season with Pac-12 members as part of the Big Ten. They did go out, win both those games this year. I think they had them circled and, really put some emphasis there. But since then, you mentioned it, really shouldn't have beaten Rutgers on the road. They squeak one out, hit a deep three to force overtime and then win it in OT. Lose to Minnesota on the road, not a good result there. Got blown out by Wisconsin on the road. Lost earlier in the season to Nebraska on the road. A good team, not a bad loss by any means, but just have struggled on the road this year in Big Ten play. And then going to Mackey, I mean, that's arguably the toughest environment, maybe outside the Breslin Center in the Big Ten. So, it's tough for me to get there with Michigan State, but I can't lay 7.5, 8.5 with Purdue. It just, the closer we get to March, the more pissed off Izzo gets with some of the ways that State's been playing. It's just hard for me to fade this team. They have Indiana on deck, a team they already beat by 21 points this year. So, yeah, I think they're bringing it all against Purdue. Not sure it's going to be enough to win or even keep it within the number, but it's the only way I'd be able to look. And then I will just mention a few player props that I have my eye on. I'm going back to Jordan Scott over 1.5 threes. He did not hit that on Sunday. I think he only took 2. He ended with like 12 points. So I was kind of kicking myself for not taking his points total. But at the end of the day, if he gets double-digit points, he's almost certainly going to hit 2 threes. So you can get that plus 105. Like that play a lot. Jeremy Fears, it looks like his points is going to drop from 15.5 to 14.5. Again, this could be a game like the Illinois, like the Michigan, like some of these big matchups that we've seen where, maybe he only has 2, 4, 6 points in the first half, but when going gets tough, they're down, 8, 10 points in the second half. He really just takes over and gets himself a lot of points late. So I kind of like Fears over, but the one play I have locked in is Jordan Scott over 1.5 threes.
Yeah, I like it. Please don't bet it because it'll give me a little bit more confidence if you don't bet it if I take them. I do have I forgot to mention one more of just historic matchups between Michigan State and Purdue. You brought up that Purdue has kind of dominated this series as of late. But as of the last 9 games, Michigan State has covered or won by 6 points or less every single game except obviously the 2. They lost to Purdue 2023 by 16 points and then lost to Purdue by 10 points back in 2021 or 2022. Every other game, Michigan State's won twice, but every other game that Purdue's won has been less than 6 points. So again, historically, this has been a close game. I just think we're getting to a point where it's too many points, like you mentioned. And I hate going against the Sharps, but Sharps were on Texas last night. Sharps are wrong, a lot of the time as well. So yeah, I hate it, but I think Michigan State is going to be an official play for me tonight.
Yeah, I'll stay off for you. But yeah, you also mentioned, this Purdue team's not quite as good as what we've seen the last couple of years with them. And it's really going to come down to, if Purdue is shooting the way Wisconsin shot against Michigan State, blowout.
Yep.
If Purdue's turning the ball over and giving Michigan State a lot of fast break, Michigan State could win outright. So yeah, it's going to come down to, how it goes. Obviously, basketball comes down to shooting. So it's not like it takes a rocket scientist to say that, but
how about Wisconsin having historic shooting nights against both our teams? There's just no way to beat them. I think they shot 50% from 3 against Michigan. I think it might have been even better against Michigan State. Can't beat a team when they're shooting like that.
Yeah. I'm already eyeing Wisconsin for March Madness because they're either going to, pull some upsets or just lose immediately. But We'll get into that here in a few weeks, but Wyatt, that will wrap it for another episode of Getting Technical. Before we get out of here, I just want to quick make mention, head over to our website if you haven't already, bettergreen.com. We give out articles over there. Our videos are over there. We have a daily swipes feature where we're going to have alternating giveaways per month for the monthly most accurate picker in our group. So check that out. We have premium plays. We give out free plays over there as well. It's been a really fun, interactive site. So really want to try to get our, our Better and Green family involvement up over there. So go check that out if you haven't done so already. Completely free to join. And then if you haven't subbed to our YouTube channel, consider doing so. We really do appreciate that. Hit the like button if you liked this video. Drop us a comment down below. Do you have Michigan State covering this one? You like Purdue to run away with it? If you have a play on the total, player props, let us know. We really appreciate it. But Wyatt, until tomorrow for your boys in blue, good luck tonight. Hope you hit your bet because that means State is at least not getting blown out. Hopefully they win outright. But until tomorrow, we'll see you for another episode of Getting Technical, brought to you by Better and Green.
Welcome to Better and Green, eh? To Better and Green, eh? To Better and Green, eh? Listening to cash out, that's what it's all about. Come on, let's make cash now. We always on spot and we cover old spot from the bottom to the top. Hey, shout out to Ethan, shout out to Wyatt, shout out to Ben. Welcome to our podcast, Better and Green.